You can't fault Vaughn at all for the failed screen pass, but he should have at least got a body on a Patriots pass rusher on third down. McCarthy should shoulder most of the blame for that. The head coach has gotten too cute on a number of occasions this season, but this was simply a lapse in concentration. Vaughn should only ever be on the field on third down if he's getting the ball or used as a decoy to deter would-be pass rushers. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Life's too short for boring weekends. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the go-to app for last-minute tickets to all your favorite events. Thrilling sporting games and captivating concerts to unforgettable theater performances. They've got it all covered. Get the best seats at the best price right at your fingertips instantly. No more waiting in lines. No more exorbitant ticket prices. So why wait? Experience the magic of the moment with Game Time. Live for the now. Game Time. Your ticket to a fantastic time. Use the link in the description and you can help support the channel when you buy your tickets to your next event. This week on the Big D Breakdown, we're going to dive into the latest headlines from around AT&T Stadium. But before we do that, we'd like to remind you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search Big D Breakdown. And without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Starting off with 4 winners and 1 loser from the Cowboys' dominant win versus the Patriots. Last week, the Dallas Cowboys were thoroughly embarrassed by the Arizona Cardinals, who knocked them off 28-16. It was a surprise the game was that close since the Cards were just in control from the first snap. They had a chance to wash that taste out of their mouth this week against New England, and that's exactly what they did. Dallas came out firing on all cylinders and even took a 28-3 lead into the halftime. It was the largest deficit Bill Belichick has had at the half in his career, and it was the same score they fought back from against the Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl 51. This time there was no comeback as the Cowboys defense never let up, and the offense continued to play smart and efficient football. That led to a 38-3 win, and we can now look back at the win with the studs and duds, which is heavy on studs and short on duds. Starting off with Jake Ferguson. Heading into the season, Dak Prescott was very eager to see what Jake Ferguson can do as the number 1 tight end. Ferguson was taking over for Dalton Schultz, who headed to the Houston Texans, but Prescott said Ferguson would be able to rise to the occasion. It took some time as the second-year tight end had just 5 receptions for 22 yards in the first 2 weeks, but now he's starting to show the world what he can do. Despite the loss in Week 3, Ferguson did all he could as he had 48 yards on 5 receptions. But then in Week 4, he had his best game as a pro. Ferguson caught all 7 of his targets for 77 yards, and that included one where he took a massive hit, but still held on for the first down. With the talented receivers on the outside, opposing defenses are often concerned about getting beat deep. Having Ferguson step up and make the intermediate plays is exactly what they need to keep the chains moving. Cowboy stud, number 2, everyone on special teams. Dan Quinn gets a ton of praise on the defense as a defensive coordinator, and for good reason. There's a lot of focus on head coach Mike McCarthy, especially since he took over play calling this season. But we don't give enough love to John Fassel and his special teams. Ever since McCarthy took over in Dallas, he's been able to rely on Fassel to coach up this unit, and they were great again in Week 4. Rookie kicker Brandon Aubrey was again perfect, going 3 for 3 on both field goals and extra points. Many of us weren't sure about Aubrey, but they believed in him, and he looks brilliant after 4 weeks. Then there was punter Brandon Aubrey, who drilled a 55-yard punt in the second quarter that pinned the Patriots deep. And that was also thanks to a huge tackle from Jalen Tolbert. If that wasn't enough, Anger also drilled a 57-yard punt and even threw a completion to Chauncey Golston for 2 points. Following the defensive touchdown from Leighton Vander Esch, Dallas saw that New England was selling out to block the kick. That led to Anger pulling the ball back and throwing it to Golston, who walked in for the 2-point conversion. It was another dominant performance that's easy to forget about during a 35-point win, but it doesn't mean we should take some time to praise this entire group. Next up, our stud, Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup has quietly become a go-to weapon for Dak Prescott this season. After a frustrating 2022 campaign, he looks healthy and has been back to making clutch plays. And he's been one of the first people Dak looks for to start games on the right note. In Week 4, Gallup had a 28-yard reception on the second play of the game, moving the ball into New England territory, helping to set up an early field goal. On their second drive, Gallup also made a play that won't show up in the stat sheet. On 1st and 10 from their own 38, CeeDee Lamb took a reverse to the right side and gained 12 yards for a first down. One of the main reasons he was able to move the sticks was a great block on the edge by Gallup, who is one of the more selfless players on the team. He continued to prove he's still a reliable target for Prescott throughout the game, including when he caught a 19-yard pass on 3rd and 6 in the third quarter. That moved the chains, and while they didn't wind up punching the ball in for 6, the catch from Gallup moved them into scoring range, and they wound up with another 3 points when Brandon Aubrey knocked in another short field goal. Gallup finished with 5 receptions for 60 yards on 6 targets. His play helped to open things up for others, and if he continues to play at this level, the Dallas offense is going to be nearly impossible to stop. Our Cowboys dud, once again, the red zone offense. There was almost nothing that went wrong for Dallas in this one, except their play in the red zone. Heading into this one, that was a major concern. In their win over Giants in Week 1, they were 3 of 4 in the red zone, but then they were just 2 of 6 against the Jets in Week 2, and 1 of 5 against Arizona. Against New England, the Cowboys moved the ball with ease in this game, but when they got into the red zone, things continued to fall apart. They were inside the 23 times and were unable to punch it in 2 of those times. They settled for a field goal from 23 yards, as well as one from 33 yards out, which had to be frustrating for Mike McCarthy. Dallas did finally punch one in when Hunter Luepke scored from 3 yards out late in the fourth quarter. Just a couple of plays after Kavate Turpin ripped off a 46-yard run, the rookie fullback powered his way in. Even then, it took 3 tries to run in the short touchdown. Clearly, there's something that's not clicking for them in this area, and they need to get it figured out with a tough opponent, San Francisco, next up on the schedule. Our stud, Daron Bland. Trayvon Diggs was lost to an ACL tear. The Cowboys defense knew they were going to need some help. The player they asked to take over his role was second-year defensive back, Daron Bland, and he's done exactly that. Bland moved from the slot to the outside as Jordan Lewis took his position. In place of Diggs, Bland played well in Week 3, but then went off this weekend. He picked off Mac Jones twice, taking the first one back for a touchdown. That gives him 3 interceptions on the season, and he's somehow been quietly dominant since being drafted in round 5 last season. Bland led the Dallas defense with 5 picks in 2022, and now with his 3 this year, he has the most in the NFL since entering the league. Bland has been fortunate enough to play on a very talented defense, which is why the ball is up for grabs so often. The front 7 continues to get after the quarterback, while they end up with just 2 sacks this week. They were again in the face of Jones and Bailey Zapp all afternoon. Even with the ball being forced out that quickly, Bland deserves praise for putting in the work. He's clearly studying film and has a strong understanding of where the ball is going. He's gambling at times, which is what good cornerbacks do, and it continues to be smart gambles. And now we're going to discuss 3 Cowboys players who silenced their critics in the demolition of the Patriots. How's that for a rebound performance? The Cowboys have seldom lost back-to-back games under McCarthy, and that narrative will surge forward after they demolished the New England Patriots by a score of 38-3. The red zone struggles reared their ugly head, but they're reaching the red zone at a ridiculously high rate. It stands to reason that the poor touchdown percentage will eventually sort itself out. Let's not harp on the negatives after that performance, though. The Cowboys dominated in all 3 facets. Dak Prescott was surgical. Yet again, the defense added 2 more touchdowns to its collection. And punter Brian Anger even tossed a 2-point conversion to defensive lineman Chauncey Golston. Fans couldn't ask for much more coming off an ugly loss. It was a collective effort from the entire roster. But these 3 Cowboys in particular silenced their critics in a big way. Starting off, number 3, Neville Gallimore. The entire Cowboys defensive front showed out defending the run, as Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott combined for 46 yards on 20 carries. That said, Neville Gallimore feasted against the Patriots' interior defensive line. It unfortunately won't show up on the box score, but the 2020 third-round pick flashed on multiple occasions throughout the game. Granted, this defense is loaded, but when was the last time Gallimore was one of the Dallas's standout players on defense? It's been a while, but Gallimore's critics don't have a leg to stand on after Sunday. He quietly performed well during training camp, and it's clear he's riding a high on confidence after making the 53-man roster as one of 5 interior defenders. Gallimore has been an easy target for Cowboy fans over the years. Much of the criticism was justified, of course. He was a healthy scratch for last year's playoff win against the Buccaneers and hasn't been able to replicate the success he had as a rookie. Hopefully, Sunday will serve as a springboard for Gallimore. His ascension as a consistent player would transform an already suffocating defense. Number 2, Michael Gallup. Similarly to Gallimore, when's the last time you can recall Gallup stringing together consecutive strong performances? Gallup was far and away the Cowboys' best offensive player in last week's loss against Arizona. He led the team with 6 catches for 92 yards on 7 targets. Sunday's lopsided scoreline didn't require a big showing from Prescott, but Gallup posted a respectable 5 catches for 60 yards. Only tight end Jake Ferguson produced more catches and yardage than Gallup, slowly but surely showing glimpses of the playmaker he was before his torn ACL. Very quietly, Gallup is Dallas's leading receiver over the last 2 games. It'd be great if he had a touchdown to show for it, but that should come once the offense remedies its red zone blues. Gallup has been a point of contention among Cowboy fans post-knee surgery. He still ranks near the bottom of the NFL in terms of creating separation, but how much does that really matter if he produces every week? Number 1, Daron Bland. Most of Cowboys Nation recognizes how special a player Bland is. He doesn't have many critics. How could he? But folks have questioned how big of a step back Dallas's defense would take with him shifting outside in place of Trayvon Diggs. Bland struggled early against the Cardinals. He committed a long pass interference penalty on a touchdown drive and later was beat on a big 3rd down. In a testament to his mental fortitude, he closed strong and piggybacked off that with arguably his best game as a pro against the Patriots. Bland put the game out of reach in the 2nd quarter with a textbook pick 6 of Mac Jones that extended the Cowboys' lead to 28-3. Early in the 3rd quarter, Bland jumped another Jones pass for his 2nd interception of the game. Incredibly, less than 5 minutes of game time separated Bland's interceptions. He now has 7 picks in his last 10 games and 3 in 4 games this season. Again, tough to have critics with that level of production. But Bland quieted anyone and everyone who questioned how he'd perform in Diggs' wake. Next up, Cowboys managed to avoid disaster as the limping Micah Parsons returned from knee injury versus the Patriots. Cowboys should be counting their blessings. After releasing Randy Gregory, the Dallas Cowboys have assembled one of the finest rosters in the NFL. Like any team, though, Dallas has made some regrettable moves that set the franchise back. Trading Amari Cooper is the example most folks would point to in that regard, as it loomed large at last year's playoff loss against the 49ers. Trading Cooper paved the way for the Cowboys to negotiate an extension with pass rusher Randy Gregory, who was coming off his most productive season as a pro in 2021 with 6 sacks, 17 quarterback hits, 3 forced fumbles, and 43 pressures. Gregory and Dallas ultimately agreed on a 5-year deal worth upward of $70 million with nearly $30 million guaranteed. It seemed like a gross overpay for a player who had trouble staying healthy. navigated off-field troubles early in his career, and never became the consistent game wrecker the team hoped he'd be. At the 11th hour, though, Gregory backed out of his agreement with the Cowboys and signed the same contract with the Broncos. Less than 2 years into that mega deal, Denver shockingly released Gregory on Wednesday to allow more opportunities for its young core. The Cowboys should be counting their blessings right now. While it stands to reason that Gregory would have been more productive the last 2 seasons if he stayed in Dallas, sometimes the best moves at free agencies are the ones that don't happen. At the end of the day, Gregory had 3 sacks in 10 games with the Broncos. His injury troubles reared their ugly head, and he didn't have the production to show for it, which prompted Denver to inherit dead cap hits of $16.1 million in 2023 and $6.3 million in 2024. Dorance Armstrong had as many sacks last year that Gregory has combined in the last 3 seasons. Armstrong signed a 2-year, $12 million contract with Dallas, including $6 million guaranteed after the Gregory agreement went haywire. Armstrong has 2 sacks in 4 games this season and is second in the NFL with an incredible 17.2% run stuff rate per next-gen stats. He's more available and productive than Gregory for a quarter the price. There's already heated debates on social media about whether the Cowboys should bring Gregory back to fortify an already lethal defensive front. It's tough to say if offenses can be mended after Gregory left Dallas at the altar over language in his contract, and we wish nothing but the best for Gregory in his future endeavors, but the Broncos swooping in saved Jerry Jones and company from one of the worst contracts in modern NFL history. Let us know in the comment section below, do you think we should bring back Randy Gregory? Yes or no? And give us reasons for your answer. And now on to our next topic. Cowboys fans asking for Deuce Vaughn benching is a surprise that none of us saw coming. The Dallas Cowboys red zone offense got off to a predictably slow start against the Patriots, culminating in a miscommunication between Dak Prescott and Tony Pollard on 3rd and 1 on the goal line that saw the quarterback and running back collide before Pollard was stuffed short. The offense has since rebounded in the form of a CeeDee Lamb touchdown. Fans are annoyed with Mike McCarthy yet again, following a brutal sequence in the second quarter that involved a fan favorite, Deuce Vaughn. First, McCarthy dialed up a short pass to Vaughn that produced 0 yardage. It seemed needless given the Patriots are down their top 3 cornerbacks after star rookie Christian Gonzalez left early with an apparent shoulder injury. Vaughn remained in the game on 3rd down and was absolutely lost on a Patriots stunt that resulted in a sack of Prescott followed by a Cowboys punt. In a surprise nobody saw coming, given Vaughn's popularity among the fan base, Cowboys Nation quietly has seen enough of number 42. Pass blocking obviously isn't Vaughn's strong suit, but the young back got crossed up and Prescott took a massive hit as a result. Getting your quarterback hit is a surefire way to lose playing time. However, and Cowboys fans wouldn't hate to see it less of the 2023 6th-round pick after this tough sequence. You can't fault Vaughn at all for the failed screen pass, but he should have at least got a body on a Patriots pass rusher on 3rd down. McCarthy should shoulder most of the blame for that. Head coach has gotten too cute on a number of occasions this season, but this was simply a lapse in concentration. Vaughn should only ever be on the field on 3rd down. He's getting the ball are used as a decoy to deter would-be pass rushers. Having him line up in pass protection was a boneheaded call by McCarthy, given Belichick's history of blitzing on 3rd down. Thankfully, Prescott wasn't dinged up by the hit. It'll be interesting to see Vaughn's role moving forward. His touches haven't resulted in much success this season. His 8 carries went for 9 yards, and his lone reception produced 2 yards, let alone Sunday, and his limitations in pass protection are a real hindrance to the offense. And now on to our next topic. Mike McCarthy has done something that no Cowboys coach since Tom Landry has accomplished. Dallas Cowboys won on Sunday and did so in an emphatic fashion. At game's end, the scoreboard read 38-3. The 3rd blowout victory that Dallas has experienced across the first 4 contests this season. Never mind that Dallas defense has scored more touchdowns in their home building than their opponents have in 2 games. And never mind the fact that the Cowboys handed Bill Belichick the worst loss that he has ever experienced in the NFL. Seriously. We all know that this is a 1 game, 1 week at a time proposition, and nothing served as the latest reminder of that than this time last week. A week ago, the Cowboys were coming off a humbling loss in the desert against the Arizona Cardinals. The magic and nature of sports are that the tide can turn quickly, and that life is much easier at 3-1 than 2-2. Having a 3-1 record is a bigger deal than you realize, although maybe you don't, given that it has become somewhat commonplace around here lately. The Cowboys hold a 3-1 record with 13 games left to go on the year. Nobody has ever won the Super Bowl by winning 75% of their first 4 games, so rest assured we are not planning any sort of parade. But we made mention of how common 3-1 has become for the Cowboys just a second ago. Did you know that this is not the first season under McCarthy, who is currently in his 4th, that the Cowboys have had at least 3 wins through their first 4 games of the season? It isn't, but it isn't the second either. Cowboys have gone 3-1 through their first 4 games of each of the last 3 seasons. Yes, this sounds oddly specific, so if you'd like, you can verbalize it, as the Cowboys have won at least 3 of their first 4 games over each of the last 3 seasons. This may sound small and trivial, but wins matter in the NFL. And piling them up is how you put yourself in proper position to reach the playoffs, as well as absorb losses you shouldn't take, like the Cardinals in Week 3. Consider that in his 9 full seasons as the team's head coach, Jason Garrett's Cowboys only won 3 of their first 4, a total of 3 times. And he did not have those consecutively. Looking deeper into this, there have been a lot of head coaches in franchise history who have never done this 3 years in a row. In fact, only one other coach has, and it was the organization's very first, in Tom Landry. Speaking specifically to a 3-year stretch, the last time that the Cowboys won at least 3 of the first 4 of a season for 3 years in a row was 1975 to 1987. However, those were the final 3 years of an amazing 13-year run. Landry's Cowboys won 3 of their first 4 every year from 1975 through 1987, and he also accomplished it many times before 1975. Obviously, he's among the greatest coaches in league history. But back to McCarthy. This is another piece of information that is emblematic of the football stability that he has brought to the organization. What he is doing in terms of wins and successes is literally uncommon for this franchise in modern history. No coach is perfect, and sometimes they will lose games that they should not. We have talked about Arizona a few times already, but it is clearly that McCarthy is among the best in the league, given only 3 other teams: the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles have all won more regular season games in the span that we are talking about, beginning with the 2021 season. So think about that. Once more, there are no trophies handed out for being among the winningest teams in the regular season, since statues are built and streets are named after you based on playoff success. But McCarthy consistently has the Dallas Cowboys in the conversation, and that is worth a lot more than nothing. Let us know your thoughts on the topics we covered in the comment section below. Is there something we missed? Something we should have covered? Let us know. Of course, if you want to support the channel, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thebigd. Your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and hopefully take this show on the road. As always, no matter what you give, it's always appreciated. Whether it's $1, $2, $5, $50, $100, anything you can give is appreciated. Of course, don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Just search Big D Breakdown. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.